Hi, cozy hobby friends. Ever since I moved from my Hobonichi to a traveler's notebook earlier this year, I have been on the hunt for the perfect planner to put inside of my traveler's notebook. The first planner that I tried was this one that I just found on Amazon, and I thought that it might work because it has a weekly vertical spread. And this is super important to me. I really like my weekly spreads, especially when they are vertical, because I just like seeing my week laid out all at once. This one also had these daily schedules laid out where I had hourly increments from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. But I realized this was not going to work out for me because what if I have things going on outside of these hours? But also more importantly, it didn't split this into half-hour increments, which I found out I really needed, especially with the types of meetings that I have throughout the day. The other thing that I thought would have made this planner a plus was that there was a nice space for to-dos every single day. But I quickly realized that this was not enough space for me to write my to-dos because I like to split them. I like to split half into work and half into personal, and I realized that I need very specific items in my to-do list. So this was not enough space for me and didn't work out in the end. Finally, the thing that really bothered me about this planner was the spiral binding. It just took up so much space in the planner, and I hated that it was so thick and bulky. So for a period of time, I actually went back into my Hobonichi because I missed the weekly layout so much. And here's an example of how I did a weekly layout after realizing that I truly needed the half-hour blocks. And so that's what I did. I used the Hobonichi for a couple of weeks and realized that this is what I feel most comfortable in. The 24-hour schedule and half-hour blocks, also areas to write weekly to-dos. Plus, being in the Hobonichi just brought me so much joy. It felt so comfortable being in here that I didn't really miss the other planner at all. But I chose to split my planner and journaling system, so all of these pages in the back just weren't going to serve me anymore in the Hobonichi. So that brings me to the Jibun Techo Lite, which is just a planner. It doesn't have a whole lot of miscellaneous paper in the back which is great because now I have a separate journal for that. Now, the reason why I chose to use this is because it is, first of all, a weekly layout planner, just like the Hobonichi. I needed everything to be laid out on one spread so that I can see what's happening in my week at a glance. This was the biggest thing, but also if you look at the daily schedule, it is 24 hours, and yay, they are broken out into half-hour increments. So here is a comparison of the Jibun Techo Lite with the Hobonichi cousin. And as you can see, this one is more slim. This is the A5 slim size. So everything is shrunk down a little bit, and I think that might take some getting used to. And if you look here, the grid is actually smaller. I think this is a 3.7 millimeter grid, and this is just a 3 millimeter grid. So that's one thing I'm really going to have to get used to, and I already started to try to find a pen that I might like to use within the Jibun Techo. Here's a very quick pen test, and so far I think the thinner pens work out really well. In fact, I might go with the Muji 0.38 gel pen in this particular planner as opposed to the Zebra Sarasa that I've been using ever since moving into the Hobonichi, which is a 0.4. Anyway, I was super surprised when I received this because look how thin it is compared to my other books. It is very slim, very compact, and I was so excited to put it right into my traveler's notebook to see how it would look like. So just to demonstrate, here is what this planner looks like inside of my leather cover. And it gives me room to put in other notebooks. So this is my commonplace book, my journal, my thinking book. All of that together is this thick. That's much more manageable for me than something like this that was just taking up unnecessary space in my traveler's notebook. But let's talk a little bit more about why the Jibun Techo Lite was my Jibun Techo of choice, because it comes in other models as well. I think there's like a standard Abyss. I didn't know about the Lite until I browsed their website. But this is perfect for me because it's very minimal. There's this yearly index, which a lot of people struggle knowing what to do with this, but for me, I like using this to plan my vacation days for the year and also marking which days my son's daycare is closed. So this is like my vacation planning spread. And then the Jibun Techo comes with a couple of these free list pages, which is really nice because I think this can now take the place of my collections notebook, which used to hold a bunch of stuff like books and movies and whatnot that I want to read or watch. Also like a wish list. I think all of that can now go into my planner directly, and I don't have to keep an entire separate book for that. Anything transient, like a temporary list, I think can go into the thinking book directly. And then we have the monthly spreads. The one here starts with December 2025, and I believe it goes all the way until January. Oh, it goes until March 2027. Interesting. But the monthly spread is also a little bit different from the Hobonichi if you're coming from that world because it has this Gantt chart on the bottom. Now, I really don't use Gantt charts because I don't really track anything, but I can imagine that using this in the future to track people's sicknesses, like if I get sick or anyone in my family gets sick, that could be really useful, especially just understanding what the sickness season looks like and who's been sick with what for how long. As for the weekly spreads, it starts in November 2025, so I could move into this planner a little bit earlier than I anticipated, but really not necessary. This weekly spread is awesome. I really like how this is broken up. Here's what I like about these weekly spreads. There's this little section up here that allows me to put my top 3 tasks for the day, and I think that could come in really handy for work tasks. And then at the bottom is even more space, so I think I could put personal tasks down here. And if you even want to track your mood, there's a mood tracker down here, which I think is really cute. But I think I could expand this and use it for task tracking as well. The other thing that I learned was really important to me is having a to-do list for the week. So anything that I don't know exactly which day I'm going to do, but know I want to do it that week, I jot down on the side, and I did that for my Hobonichi as well. But this is super nice. I really like having this dedicated space. After going through all of the weeklies, we end in January 2027. There are a couple of blank grid pages, which I think I'll just continue using for scribble scrabbles or pen tests and marker tests, just to see how this paper performs. There's really not that many, which to me is a plus because that would bulk up the planner. And I have a separate notebook for all of that. And then just the last couple of pages is this looking back on 2026 spread. My idea is to use this to track the milestones for my 2 new babies that are going to be born this year. So this is really nice because without this, I probably wouldn't even be thinking about, oh, when were their milestones? When did they hit this? When did they hit that? But now that I have this spread, I think it would be really fun to fill it out. And that is it. That is the Jibun Techo Lite. I am so excited to use this for the next year. I am going to try to figure out how I can incorporate it for my personal life and work, which will be interesting because I will be on maternity leave for a period of time when I am in this planner. But I think that'll be okay because I can still use it to track babies' daily activities, such as when they fed, when they slept, etc. I'm sure I'll find a way to use it, but I'm so excited to use this for the next year. Let me know what planner you're going to be in next year and how you plan on using it. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I'll talk to you next time.